forcing it, and therein lies the problem of their own. So they say things like, they're on. But they're wrong, Charlize, they're wrong, and hence this song. Welcome to the Theronathon. We're gonna do the Theronathon. Take a bite and chew the Theronathon. Juicy like fondue, the Theronathon. Get a film review at the Theronathon. Woohoo, the Theronathon. I'm sniffing glue.
You are listening to the Ronathon. I am your host, Robin Hitchcock, and my fellow hosts are
Bob Shields,
Gene Connolly.
And we are here to take you on a journey through every single movie featuring Charlize Theron. This week's movie,
Aeon Flux, the should have been straight to video but wasn't science fiction adaptation of an MTV cartoon.
correct?
That is correct.
There you go. So what did we think?
I get the impression that I liked it better than everyone else.
I have to say, I have a weird affection for this movie.
So-
it is not good. Let's get that out of the way.
Yep.
But, so here's the thing. The whole time I was watching this, it was unclear to me, had I seen this before? And I think that I have, but I think it's so forgettable that it's one of the few movies that you can watch and that 10 years later you can watch it and it'll feel like the first time because you will genuinely have no idea.
I had lunch with Liz Labaz yesterday, and she said that we went to see it together.
All of us?
Yes. And I said, no way. I have never seen this movie before. I'm sure. And so that suggests to me that maybe you have.
I thought I watched it with John Feitner in our apartment on Edmund Street, and he was like, no, I saw that in theaters.
I think that there was an event where our group of friends in 2005 saw this movie.
That makes
But
sense.
I said that I wasn't there because it was December 2005, and I was in my sad orphan cave.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Bob Shields, have you seen this movie before?
I had seen it before. I saw it when I was in college. I don't recall the circumstance or really anything about it. I just remember, and I still thought this when I watched it the second time, that it had like really great sci-fi concepts, but was a really forgettable and boring movie. So there's a lot of things, like the beginning of this movie feels like the setup to a really good Star Trek episode, except then the crew of the Enterprise just never shows up. So it's kind of weird in that way, and like there's a lot of like cool technology, and like it's a really cool premise, but it just completely flattens out and becomes boring schlock.
So my favorite part of the movie is that I think that they do a good job of having like detailed, weird world specific things.
World building.
Yeah,
Yes.
like she's like, oh, I put something in my drink and then it turned black. We're never going to discuss that. Or I put this weird chest thing on me and now I'm in a different dimension room, but now I'm not. And I really like that. Like, I like movies that assume a knowledge of the world that they don't take the time to talk to you about.
So I like that too, and that's one of the things I like best about this movie is it introduces a lot of concepts like that, but the rules are very unspecific and undefined. So like, for example, one of the coolest things is they take a pill to get their information. Like they get a mission briefing, take a pill, and you see it, they have like Encyclopedia Encarta video game graphics of
The nervous system.
Yeah, the nervous system and the pill going into the bloodstream and like affecting their brain, and then they're in a corridor in her brain with Frances McDormand. And I was like, that's a really cool concept, like a pill that gives you makes you hallucinate information.
Right.
That's an awesome idea. But then it turns out that that's actually like a live connection, like they're actually talking back and forth using that technology.
They are like visiting a different plane.
Right, it's not a recording.
It's like an astral. I think it can be both. I think
it's definitely live because she and Sathandra negotiate.
Yes. So it's definitely like they're connected that way.
Yeah.
And also like at some point she doesn't have to take a pill, like she just scratches a hole in her skin.
That was the thing
and,
they
like,
said.
She's keeping a pill inside of her.
Yes, and
Oh.
Sathandra had the same thing, and that was how they tracked her. They said as long as she has the pill in her, then we can find her.
Yeah.
So I thought that was the trace of the pill in her bloodstream. I thought that was supposed to be.
it was like a backup
An
pill.
actual physical pill.
Well, she also has like skin patches that she can pull off to like heal other people's
Yes,
bullet
yeah,
wounds.
she
I
does.
think my memory of the cartoon is that the body modification was a much more prevalent part of the show. And here there was a little bit like Sathandra had feet,
Yep.
Yeah.
which I remember from the cartoon. And I think like here they show it a little bit. But in the cartoon, I'm pretty sure there's someone who had like a part of their spine removed.
Correct.
And they could take that part out and then do like crazy movement things that you would do if you didn't have a spine there, and then like reinsert it.
Yes, and also you could put a wrench inside of her spine gap and give her an orgasm. I watched the entire cartoon this week, so
my
God.
I went on a deep dive with this movie because
Cool.
I'm going back to the working world next week, so I figured, like, hey, I've got my days free. So I watched the movie, I watched the whole series, and then I watched the movie with the writer's commentary again.
Oh wow, that's
Because
commitment.
when I was watching the movie, all of my notes were, I assume this is something from the cartoon. Most of the time, it isn't. They
Oh.
made up most of this stuff.
That's
Oh.
interesting.
Like, some things, the first image is her catching a fly in
Yes.
her eyelashes. That's the credits card for the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing where she makes out with that guy and he feeds her the pill, that is sort of inspired by something from the cartoon. Fun fact, that guy was her boyfriend.
Oh,
Yeah, who was like a better actor than being a
pill tongue.
correct.
That's how he was credited.
Yeah.
pill tongue.
Tongue pillar. Pill.
Stuart
tonguer pill.
Townsend as tongue pill.
Ew. I specifically did not rewatch the cartoon because the cartoon has this like weird space in my memory of like the first thing I remember watching on TV and feeling like this is sexual. And I think if my parents walk in and see me watching this, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Same.
But it's not. Like, it was also, like, so weird and outside of what I thought was, like, sexual for, like, a kid. I was like, well, it's not a rom-com and they're not making out, but she's walking around in naked
it's
outfits.
so sexual. There's a fucking machine.
Oh, my God.
There's
It's also, like, gross.
it's the whole that cartoon. Watching all of Aeon Flux over the course of 2 days gave me the weirdest dreams of my life.
Yeah, I believe it.
But watching the cartoon makes this movie seem so much more narratively cohesive.
Yes.
Interesting.
I do remember that also because I would only catch the cartoon at odd intervals, and it was like, oh, it's on, I should try to watch this, but I have no idea what's happening, and because I didn't have DVDs then, like, you couldn't watch everything in sequence, so it was just sort of like, I'm getting weird glimpses into this fetishy, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I mean, we probably are mostly remembering the 95 series.
Yeah.
But the shorts that aired during Liquid Television are like 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
So there's no story. It's like 2 minutes of Aeon Flux killing people.
And when I say it's gross, I feel like it reminds me stylistically of Ren and Stimpy, which I also find kind of unwatchable because it just has like a real focus on like, I don't know, like I can't think of a better word for it than just like the gross body. Like there's just something about those images and there's something about the way that it's drawn that I think is very deliberate.
Yeah.
And I can watch Aeon Flux, but like I hated Ren and Stimpy.
Aeon Flux.
What did I say? Yeah, Ian. Good old Ian.
Good old Aeon Flux.
That's the Scottish pronunciation,
So
right?
the thing about Aeon Flux, no, so I
Aeon.
actually, watching the
Aeon.
cartoons, I was like, David Cronenberg should have directed this movie.
Yes.
That would have been amazing.
Yep.
And kind of what Bob was saying about, like, this is a decent premise for a Star Trek episode. All of the cartoons, each episode of that one season that they did, is a decent premise for a sci-fi movie that they've got 20 minutes of nonsense and don't go anywhere with.
Yeah.
But I kind of look through and I'm like, why didn't they take any of these
Yeah.
and turn it into a movie? And I got to one where they were making clones, and I was like, oh, this is the one they used, but it's absurdly different. And would have made a much better movie.
Interesting.
Well, so the plot summary is everyone on Earth has died except for a small group of people, and the good child saved humanity by coming up with a cure for the disease. And
That
they've
is
lived,
true in the cartoon also.
Okay. They've lived in this tiny society for 400 years, and there's a secret group of Monarchans who think that the good childs are a repressive, tyrannical regime because people keep disappearing and no one talks about it. So it's about, like, the authoritarian state initially, but then you essentially find out that everyone is a clone because by curing the disease, they made everyone sterile, and the only people who know that they're clones are the two good child brothers, one of whom continues to research, proves Jeff Goldblum correct, that life finds a way.
Yes.
Because people basically fix themselves over 400 years, and also that Aeon Flux was his wife from 400 years ago who had never been cloned, except for this is the first time she was cloned because a dude in
Pete Postlethwaite.
Postlethwaite in a blimp was like, now's the time for her to blow shit up. So then she was born and grew up, so then when they saw each other, they're like, oh my god, ghost memories. And then they bone, and then the movie ends with the...
Not Pete Postlethwaite and Charlize Theron.
No,
Although
that
would
is
be
true.
A sight to see.
I would...
Trevor Goodchild.
Yes,
and
Goodchild and his...
Aeon.
Catherine.
Yeah.
And then the clone blimp, very metaphorically, crashes into the wall of the tiny civilization
that separates them from the wild.
from
Yes.
nature. And then they talk about how it's important that you die.
Can I tell you something that I learned from watching the writer's commentary?
Yes.
I have been debating whether or not I should share this with you.
Definitely
because-
do.
Okay, in the original script, Aeon is pregnant.
Oh.
I actually kept thinking that was
Okay.
going to be what happened. I was glad that they explained why she showed up, because she hadn't been being cloned.
Right. I thought that was a reasonable explanation,
Yeah.
but she got pregnant when she boned him, and then that is how she knows on a cellular level that it's time to stop.
Oh, I'm really glad they took that out.
Yeah.
I like that she was like, look, we might all just die, but maybe that's the outcome, versus I have a magical womb and therefore my kid will
Well,
be
it wouldn't be a magical womb because she knows that other people, like her sister got pregnant, she knows that other people are getting pregnant.
But she didn't know. The sister got pregnant because she was part of an experiment group that Trevor Goodchild was conducting to try to find a cure.
Right.
And even though he's doing all these experiments and he's in charge of every person and magical water droplets surveil everyone at all times.
That's true.
He had no idea that other people were spontaneously getting pregnant and that his brother was having the police kill all of them.
Yeah, he's not very good at exploiting his own surveillance state.
So one of the things in this movie that I found the most frustrating is the criminal waste of such a good cast.
Yes.
Okay, can we talk about how in 2005, Charlize Theron and Frances McDormand were in 2 movies together? One of them was Aeon Flux, and one of them was North Country, for which they both got Oscar nominations.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I hope that they are pals. Also, Frances McDormand in particular is the one I feel wasted because she has this horrible orange, like,
Crepe
crazy
wig.
French lady. So she has, like, a bright orange Helena Bonham Carter wig, and she only exists in the Mind Palace. And we don't know if she's good or bad. Like, we know that the Monicans are being manipulated by Oren Goodchild, but I don't know if she's in on it or not, or if she's just, like, a true and just rebel leader. But she's all like, all right, Sathandra, kill your pal who beat you up for inexplicable reasons and put you underwater with a reed in your mouth, which was deeply horrifying to consider. But the point is,
Sathandra, also an Academy Award nominee, Sofia Okonedo.
Who is great.
Yes. But yeah, Frances McDormand, please be in that movie more, or I don't know. I was just like, it's
I
so
was
nice
really
to see her.
curious how she felt, how that character, if she even exists on the normal plane,
Yes.
right? She maybe only exists in the astral plane. How she felt because she got betrayed at the end.
She
right?
did.
Basically, because Aeon has sex with the bad guy, in quotation marks, Trevor Goodchild, Frances McDormand sends Sathandra and all the other assassins after Aeon.
Because she
and-
failed to kill him.
Right. And Sathandra and Aeon have a subconscious conversation, and it's come to Jesus moment, and Sathandra chooses to back Aeon's play. And Frances McDormand is back there being like, no, no, and then is never heard from again.
Yeah.
They go back to the real world, and no one knows what happens to Handler.
So here's another thing I think is interesting about this movie is this movie and The Hunger Games are both like, oh, a decadent overlord who like fucks up with your life. But this movie is essentially like, but the Goodchilds are really honestly trying to help you all along. So like, I know they've been disappearing people and manipulating you and lying to you, but like, he's totally a good guy.
Well, there are 2 of them, and one of them is the evil one, and one of them is the good one. The good one doesn't know that his brother has been disappearing and murdering pregnant women. He is just kind of like, well, shit happens.
But he is deceiving all of humanity.
Which I want to touch on, because that's a good premise. Like, the clone society is a great premise, but it's never explained how no one ever says, hey, how come this same guy has been running things for 400 years? Why are the civilians unaware?
That's a very good point.
Well, I think because he gets reborn, so he would die.
Yeah.
But
so
he's
it-
named,
but
so
he
it's like
doesn't-
Trevor Goodchild
but
in
there
the
isn't-
50th.
That's true.
But they're not synchronized. People are living and dying all the time.
And they do
So-
show him raising his own self.
Exactly.
They
so,
show
Oh,
him
he
teach-
raises himself.
Yeah.
They show him teaching himself to love Charlize Theron.
yeah, which makes no sense whatsoever. So-
Well, I mean, we should all be taught to love
That's
Charlize
true.
Theron.
Oh yeah, well, isn't that the whole point?
So let's talk about Charlize in this movie.
So I think it's either a pivotal moment in her career where she transitions from sexy eye candy to movie star powerhouse, or it's the result of her Oscar win, and this is like, oh, now you can do whatever you want. And I can't quite tell which one, because she never really did another blockbuster until like Snow White, really.
She didn't do it as a lead.
Yes.
So the reason that we chose this movie for this part of the podcast, for what are we, episode 3?
Yep.
Mhm.
We chose it because this was the first time that I could think of, and maybe the only time, that it was Charlize Theron is
Yes.
Yes.
Aeon Flux.
Yes.
And this was after her Oscar win.
Yep.
And I feel like this was her trying to get back into movie stardom seat.
Right.
I think like the other transition that it could have gone down is we didn't have superhero movies the way that we do now then, but sort of being like an action franchise star. Like I think if this had been successful.
Yes, that was one of her options, was to become Aeon Flux in the Aeon Flux universe.
But it was no Tomb Raider, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I kept thinking about how if this movie had been made a few years earlier, it would have been Angelina Jolie for sure.
John Feitner actually thought that that's who this was at
Yeah.
first. He was like, why did you watch that horrible movie? And I was like, Charlize Theron's in it. He's like, is she?
Yeah.
Yes. I was excited to see, so this is only the third movie that we've seen, but her eyebrows are progressively getting less penciled. So I'm excited to see them come in.
There is hope.
I feel like in this movie, the action sequences are, maybe that's why she didn't become an action star, because the action sequences, I'm not like, oh man, she's really kicking some ass.
Bad.
It's like,
They're-
she's about to punch. Cut to another bit.
They are.
There was one that I liked. The
So-
one that I liked was her fighting with her lover's other lover / bodyguard, Freya.
Yes. So, as we know from Jackie Chan explaining it in that clip
Yeah.
on Every Frame of Painting, which everyone should watch, the reason that they cut around a lot is because the actors weren't trained to fight. So
Yeah.
they just make
Right.
it look, they just throw a punch and then they cut to another angle. So it makes it look like, but this one is actually done not very well. Like, there's a good way to do that.
Yeah.
And this is not an example of it.
Right.
So it kind of comes off like, and not just the fights, but also like almost all the stunts, like the acrobatic work and like falling out of the blimp, and when Sithandra falls from the spire and stuff like this, it comes across like it's like when someone falls down the stairs in a soap opera. You just kind of see them go wah, and then suddenly they're at the bottom already.
Right.
There's no actual stunt. It's just
Yeah.
kind of cut and then cut, and it's because it's cheap.
Some of that may have been because Charlize broke part of her back or injured part of her back
I did
during
hear about
this.
that. Yeah.
So I think that they may have scaled back some of the stunts that they would have done otherwise. But like, I don't know, they could have gotten her actual stand-in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fight in 2 Days in the Valley was better than all of the fight scenes in this, and it was
I
done
agree.
using stunt doubles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's just very strange, and also like the director of this movie. This is only I can't remember her name. Karen.
It's Corinne Kusama. She
Corinne
directed
Kusama.
Girl Fight, which is
Yeah.
what Michelle Rodriguez came to fame with.
And presumably the movie Girl Fight has
It's a boxing
decent
movie.
fight scenes in
It's
it.
a boxing movie.
So
So
it's a
it's
different
very,
kind of fight.
It's a different kind of fight, yeah.
Sure, but
And
I'm
it's
like,
a great movie, by the way. I haven't seen it since I was in high school, but High School Robin loved that movie.
all right.
So,
But the fight scenes they're not like cutting around.
No.
They're like proper
but
fight
it's
scenes.
boxing, right? You know, it's
Sure, but you still have to train for boxing.
Yeah, but there's not like flipping over each other and stuff.
This is true.
Yeah.
But you can still fall out of a tree
But yeah, this was her
convincingly.
second movie. So Girl Fight, I think, was like 2001. So quite a gap.
Yeah, she doesn't direct movies very often, and she mostly directs TV now, which is kind of a good fit, seeing how
Yeah.
this one looks.
I do think though that this is a very visually interesting movie. Like
I agree.
the plot
Yes.
isn't necessarily visually interesting, but there's a lot of I think like the scenic design or whatever you would call it, the visual elements of it and even the costumes. Like I think they very successfully transitioned the like weird outfits from the cartoon into the actual outfit. I thought it was pretty, if not compelling all the time.
Yeah, I thought it was visually was pretty good. Like, in
I
its,
thought the sets were great.
yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
standard camera work. It looked great. The special effects don't hold up.
Also, it was one of those we ran out of money things, I think.
Yes, the crashing blimp scene
Yeah.
at the end looks
Ugh.
really bad.
It looks video
game
bad,
like,
yeah.
yeah. Again, it's an interesting premise, and everyone worked very hard to not much success.
I think some people's acting, like Johnny Lee Miller, is that his name?
Yeah.
But I think like he was just kind of like, hey, my brother, I killed some people, I got shot, I'm gonna shoot, and I was like,
forgot
I
how
know
weak
that
his
you were.
American accent is.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
terrible. at
He
that.
just needs to not pretend to be American ever.
Like he is a good actor, but in that
I
role,
like
he
him
was
a
kinda
lot.
Like,
Yeah.
"Brr."
I think actually the worst actor was Goodchild, like the main guy.
I don't recognize that guy from anything.
All the time.
The whole time we were watching the movie, I was like, oh, I wish Robin were here so I could say, why do I know him?
Because I don't know him. mystery to me.
I like throughout the movie I said about why do I know that person? Why do I know that person? Because it is a good cast
Yeah,
of
it's a
people.
great cast.
I hope they got a paycheck from it. Was it even a successful was
No.
it?
No,
Yeah,
not
it was
even
a
close.
tank.
So one thing is that I assume at some point plan to release this at least in the springtime, if not the summer. This was released in December.
Ooh.
This is a action movie that I can't understand releasing this in December. It made no money at all.
Is that and well we do not have an Ebert and Mebert, and that is because it was not released for critics.
That's correct.
okay.
Yeah. So I actually did find a quotation from Roger Ebert regarding this movie, which was him talking about how he doesn't actually see every movie.
Okay.
And he's like, look, like, you know, believe it or not, I don't see every movie. And when I have the chance to see something not to review it, I pretty much go straight for the indies that didn't get a release for me as opposed to Aeon Flux.
That's
Yeah.
That's fair.
That is a respectable decision.
So it is likely that Roger Ebert died never having seen this movie. Sorry, Charlize.
I feel like her role in this movie is mostly to model her perfect haircut. Her hair in this movie delighted me so much, but also like I feel like they don't give her a lot of things to do besides stare intensely, and she has I think few lines.
She doesn't speak very much.
Yeah, she mostly like looks at you with those eyes.
So the show was silent. All the shorts were wordless.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then in this writer's commentary that I listened to, they were like, "Oh, the film was an opportunity to humanize the character," and I'm like, "You didn't."
No, I'm like, I get that
You
she loved
failed.
her sister that she never had dinner with.
Right.
That was such a quick turn of events. It was like,
Right.
hey, I'm in the market, gonna have a baby, dead.
Yeah, that's part of what made it feel like a TV show for me. Is that
Yeah.
everything
Right.
happened in the first 20 minutes, and then it skipped forward a year.
It
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I was also like, you know, you could have just started with, they killed my sister. I mean, the whole movie started with title cards being like, we're explaining this world. And they
Right.
could have just been like, and Eon is pissed because her sister was one of them.
Having title cards over-explain too much information is true to the series, though. Every episode starts with, like, imagine you have read 500 pages of a book, page 501, let's go. Regarding her sister Una, and a lot of other things, because I watched the series this week, there are so many things in it that they were like, oh, we'll take that character's name, but no reality from it. It's
Okay.
almost like they didn't watch it but read the Wikipedia page for it.
They walked through the graveyard of those characters and were like, I like that name off that
So,
tombstone,
like,
but I don't know anything about
okay,
their life.
So even Sathandra, the character in the TV show is named Scaphandra,
Okay.
and she is a bad guy, ultimately. We find out that she was double-crossing Aeon.
Oh.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, okay, hands for feet, sounds like Sathandra, let's move on. And naive girl named Una, let's give her a sister named Una. Like, it's so weird to me that they bothered to take these things that are
Yeah.
completely hollow.
Things that would be only known by people who cared enough to have watched the TV show.
Right.
And also, those were the only people who'd be annoyed by it not being true.
Exactly.
Yep.
They're like, hey, let's both appease and irritate the
It's-
5 people who are coming.
My other theory is that they actually did watch the show, but they watched it in the 90s when they were stoned. And then they, like, sat down and they were like, all right, we're writing the Aeon Flux adaptation. Wasn't there someone with hands for feet? Sathandra.
Love it.
Yeah. Like, that's my best guess.
It's a misremembered rewrite
Yeah.
of a script. Yep, that makes sense.
My favorite part of the hands for feet is they show it to you for like half a second, and you'd think something that gross and detailed that they would take more time to be like, we are gonna use this. But basically they're like, look, she's got hands for feet. And then they'll just show a close-up of hands holding something, and you're like, but you know it's her feet, right?
So that's true with almost everything in this movie. Like, it's a great, like, that's something that you could, like, a monkey assassin person could totally use that to their advantage. Like I thought she was gonna, like, be on her hands, like, at a disadvantage, and then she was gonna, like, punch some people with her feet or something.
Yeah.
But nothing like that ever happens, and it's the same with almost all of the sci-fi concepts that are in the movie. Like, when you mentioned, like, the weird teleporter bondage harness before, like, that is completely pointless in it. Like, it makes for an interesting fight scene where she's, like, going back and forth between the rooms.
And
but,
then
like,
it's completely forgotten that it even exists. I guess I hesitate to criticize this movie for all of the things that don't make sense, because I feel like in the beginning of this talk, we were all saying how great it is that they don't expect you to understand
Yes.
what's going on. And I wish they had leaned into that, because then it would A, be more like the source material,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and B, the parts of this movie that are exposition heavy are excruciating.
Boring.
So boring. Yeah.
Oh, the flashbacks of them when they're not in focus. Do you know how much I don't want to not watch the same flashback 6 times of a blurry image? A lot.
Of Charlize walking down a street.
Or of, like, the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, I get it. Just, can we just use flashbacks once? And if you're gonna flashback again, Regina Connelly says, you have to use different footage. Stop using the same footage like 6 times in a movie.
But that's what memories are like, Regina.
No, they're not! Two things that I did like about the movie.
Yeah.
I think my favorite sequences are her and Sathandra running across the evil expanse of a beautiful garden.
Okay, so my thing about the evil garden, though, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
it
go.
bothered me that they show this woman who has hands for feet, and then the next sequence is, but she's worse at it than Charlize is.
Yeah, that
Like,
was weird. Yeah.
basically, if there's this obstacle course of death, Sathandra gets hit by everything. She fucks up. She gets shot by the cocoons. She lands on the grass blades.
I
And
felt like she was
Charlize
like
doesn't.
learning it. And that, because Aeon is behind her.
She does say at one point, do you understand it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, so I enjoyed that sequence because I found it tense, and like watching Sathandra run was like really captivating. But then she just gets to a tube and she's like, cool, see you later. So I feel like
I thought that she died and I was making a sandwich, and then she showed up.
I did also think the way that Charlize was like insect crawling through that was reminiscent of the cartoon, and that was interesting to watch. But I genuinely thought that sequence was well done, and also her fight with Freya was well done.
I
and,
loved
like,
the fight with
painful.
Freya. That was my favorite part of the movie.
I think those were the only 2 parts of the movie that had any genuine, like, what's gonna happen? And also, I'm watching this. The rest of it was like, all right.
Yeah, the exposition was really boring. Also, she figures out the cloning extremely easily.
Ridiculously
So she just shows up and is like, oh, you cloned her. And he's like, yeah, I cloned everyone. And then it's like, oh, okay.
Also, like,
No detective work at all.
zero chemistry between those
Nope.
two.
You know, she's sent to kill him, and she has like a moment of, I know you, and I can't.
I
Yes.
think I kissed you.
Right, and then they are separated, and then the next time they're together, she's like, you called me by a different name, and they immediately start fucking. And it feels phony.
Also,
Yeah.
like, by fucking, it's like, they're kissing, and then we see them naked in a bed. For a TV show that was so sexual, they're like, no boning. But let's have the one sex scene in the movie be very sterile.
Yeah,
Right.
skip over it. In
Yeah,
fact.
just, right, they'll kiss, and then they wake up, and then she strangles him. Which
Yeah,
I
she
enjoy.
tries to choke him out.
So I said at the beginning of this that I have a strange affection for this movie, but you guys have like talked me into being like, what is this movie? It's stupid.
I think my affection for this movie sort of holds up because I have a high tolerance for dumb action movies.
Yeah.
Obviously, if anyone other than Charlize were in it, I'd probably be more bored by watching it. But I'm just like, I get to see her wear some outfits and stare meaningfully into the camera. Another thing that I enjoyed was she had this ring that dropped little puddles around, and then when all those puddles turned into balls and then like blew up so that she could escape. I thought that was really cool. And also, I think the most engaged she was with anyone in this entire movie was when she talked to them. It was like, hey friends.
She did.
Yeah.
But like, she had more affection for her little bombs than for any other human in the movie.
Yeah, the
Right.
whistle-controlled demolition ball bearings
That was awesome.
were the most compelling character in the movie.
So, because we're doing this because of Charlize, she seems not very happy over the course of this movie, right? Like, she does not seem, as an actress, to be enjoying herself. Is that fair to say?
I would say so.
Yeah, I would say
In a
so.
way that I feel like with a similar role in Mad Max, like a badass role, she's clearly having the time of her life.
Maybe having a broken back will take the sparkle
That
out of
might
you.
be.
That could be it, yeah. But like I said, like she didn't really do another tentpole blockbuster movie until Snow White, really.
Yeah.
She tends to kind of just lend her star power to like smaller movies, like
Yeah.
sort of Battle in Seattle kind of deal.
Right.
Which otherwise people would probably never have seen or heard of.
I have never seen Battle in Seattle,
Me
but I
neither.
will see it because of her
Indeed.
and this podcast.
I will
Yes.
enjoy saying it.
Yeah, it's a great title. There was no other blockbusters. She was in the Italian Job before this, but
But she was the girl.
exactly. She
Right.
was part of an ensemble, and that was definitely Mark Wahlberg's movie.
Right.
Then there was also Hancock after this, but that was definitely Will Smith's
Right.
movie.
I didn't even know that she was in Hancock
Me
until
neither
like
when
2
I saw
years
it.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is definitely maybe the first and last Charlize Theron is movie.
Possibly, yeah.
And it's a shame that it's kind of shitty.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I'm kind of glad because it would be a shame if she fell into that trap and just became another boring franchise actress.
Well,
I prefer to have like a more varied and interesting career than just because if you look at like Hugh Jackman or something,
Yeah.
who got famous. No, he's just in 500 X-Men movies.
right.
And
But what about Will Smith, right? Will Smith gets to do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, but that's true. But then he was also in like 3 Men in Black movies and
Yeah.
Wild Wild West and like
That's true.
all that kind of stuff. Like he hasn't.
It's a double-edged sword, movie stardom.
Indeed, he hasn't really done many kind of. He's trying to do like more interesting movies now.
Yeah.
But for the most of his career, like it wasn't that. He wasn't a particularly. He himself was compelling, but the movies he was in weren't compelling.
Nominated for 2 Oscars.
Will Smith was.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he
Ali
was in
and The
Ali.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, though, is I can't, and maybe this is just a lack in my movie knowledge, but I can't really think of a female-led action franchise other than Tomb Raider. And I guess,
Hunger Games?
yeah, I guess Hunger
And
Games.
Hunger Games.
And Mila Jovovich's Zombies.
Oh, and also I
Resident
guess
Evil.
the one
Resident
that's
Evil.
like Resident Evil, but Kate Beckinsale is in it, and it's a
Oh,
thing about
Underworld.
werewolves. Yeah.
Underworld,
Okay,
yeah.
but see, I think Resident Evil and Underworld seem more genre-y
Yeah.
than,
Yes.
for example, Mission Impossible.
Right.
Like, I can't think of an equivalent to that other than Salt.
I still haven't seen Salt.
Oh
You
my
should go
god.
see it.
But
Guys,
wouldn't it be great if
I would do
Salt
a
was a
podcast.
franchise?
Well, Salt was supposed to be a franchise, and also Salt was originally supposed to have
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise in it. And I think that the reason that it did not become a franchise
Is because it had a woman in it?
correct. I think if Tom Cruise had been in that movie, if we can have Jack Reacher 2 still reaching around, then we certainly deserve Salt 2.
Salt 2 and Pepper.
Ah!
Anyway, I don't know. So I don't know if she didn't do like a superhero, or I guess not like superhero movies, but even so, like we don't have Wonder Woman. Black Widow doesn't have her own movie. Like I just don't know a lot
We
of
will have Wonder
female-led.
Woman in June.
Yeah.
No one knows because they're not advertising that.
Right, exactly. There's no
Let's talk about
information it.
Ragnarok instead. Like I just can't
Yeah.
think of like a female equivalent of Mission Impossible or Jason Bourne or what are other.
They don't exist,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, the closest one that is about to come out is Atomic Blonde, which has
Starring Charlize
Theron.
Theron.
I don't know what that is.
Oh,
You would
Regina.
love it.
You will love it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a thing that is most exciting to me about Charlize Theron movies are the ones that she hasn't made yet in some ways. Like I don't mean
Yeah.
to just be full of hope and everything like that, but I think that she's always been a movie star, or she's been a movie star and a recognizable name for a long time. But I do think that Mad Max is like a big turning point in the way that she is being perceived.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious about like the kind of movies that are going to come out afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I think. I think this movie is the first stop on her first turning point.
Yeah.
So like it's good that things picked up from here. But yeah, this is an oddly pivotal movie for her.
She's so good, guys.
Okay.
Even in boring movies where she doesn't do much besides interact with a ball bearing, she's still great, whatever.
Okay, so we did not do this for our last movie, but it is a regular feature. Can you summarize your feelings about this movie with a single sound?
Ooh.
I made a note about it. All right, so my sound for this movie would be,
My sound for Aeon Flux 2005 is
2005, Aeon Flux.
I feel like Regina's giving it the most respect.
I think that's what I said from the very beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think also, like, in terms of flavors of movie, this is more my brand than
Yeah.
other people's.
This is
Or maybe not Bob Shields,
So,
I don't know.
I was pretty much primed to love this movie. Like I was a huge fan of The Matrix, and this is everything that I should want in a movie. And again, like great premise, terrible execution.
I think
Peter
this also...
Chung, who directed the cartoon, did one of the Animatrix episodes.
Really, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. That's cool. They were good.
I feel like this reflects so well on how good The Matrix is, because when I watched it, I was like, this probably came out before The Matrix, because it's, like, way crappier in terms of special effects.
Right.
And it's like, no, that is
Yeah.
not remotely true.
Nope. This feels very dated in a way that the original Matrix does not.
No. But it is
Oh.
interesting to watch the, like, this... I really do think that the cartoon was probably influential on The Matrix, and
Yep.
Yes.
it's really interesting. Her look in this movie is actually really similar to Scarlett Johansson as Major in the new Ghost in the Shell.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you sort of look at Charlize Theron in this movie, you see, like, okay, yeah, she looks like Aeon Flux from the cartoon, but also the Major from the Ghost in the Shell anime, which came out at the same time as the series, the cartoon series.
yeah.
So it's weird, this soup of bondage gear,
goth
scary
sci-fi.
women. Yeah.
Talking about The Matrix, I think, is an excellent segue into who should Keanu Reeves play in Aeon Flux?
So I actually realized as we were sitting down to this that I never thought about it.
Okay.
So I just made myself laugh by thinking that Keanu could play Pete Postlethwaite. So for people who aren't watching the movie, Pete Postlethwaite, he's an old man, and in the movie, apparently, based on the screenwriter's commentary, he has been alive this whole time. They've like artificially kept him alive for 400 years. But he is a man inside of, those pop-out tunnels that you send toddlers
he's
through
in
to
a
make
polytunnel.
them happy?
See, I thought he was in, those like waving balloon men in front of car dealerships.
Yes.
He's essentially wearing one of those.
Well, I mean, the blimp has one of those dangling beneath
that
it.
is true.
Charlize grabs onto that.
Yeah.
What a bad exit plan.
So, just imagining Keanu shaved, leathery skin inside of a pop-out tunnel is funny to me.
Yeah.
All right, you're next. I went first last time.
Well, okay.
But you were so right last time.
Well, I have a note on this one that's gonna be so controversial. I'm scared to say it.
Oh,
I have a suspicion I know where you're going. So, I did not think about this as deeply as I should have, but I actually think I would like Keanu to play her brother-in-law. He's not in the movie very much. He is like gardening with some Technicolor powder. Then later he gets egregiously shot, but he argues for, I don't know, trying to make a life or something. I feel like that would be...
that is actually one of the more, like, real scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's a scene in the movie that sounds like how people actually talk about
Yeah.
Right.
dealing with authoritarian governments.
Yeah, I would cast Keanu as Claudius.
Okay.
All right, so
At long last, Bob Shields reveal.
well, I hope it doesn't disappoint. But Keanu Reeves in this would play Charlize.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh.
Because here's the reasoning. We think that we live in the darkest timeline in real life now, but there is a darker timeline where Keanu Reeves got typecast after The Matrix and then only plays that kind of role for the rest of his career.
That is a darker timeline.
So he would replace Charlize in this, and he'd replace Christian Bale in Equilibrium in that timeline.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so final thoughts on Aeon Flux.
Look, if I had the flu and it was on my computer, I would watch it again.
It is now on your computer.
Don't get the flu just to watch it again. You can watch it again without having the flu.
No, I just mean, like, I think the only circumstances in which I would watch it again is I am so ill, I can think of very little else, but this will be pleasant enough that if I fall asleep in the middle of it, I'd be alright with it.
I already admitted to watching it twice in 1 week.
The commentary was probably pretty interesting, I would imagine.
It was one of those commentaries where they were like, guys, it's not our fault.
I only watched one movie ever with
Yeah.
commentary on, and it was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I don't think anything can top that, so
That's
I don't
a
know
really
if I
good
could ever
commentary
watch
track.
commentary
I
again.
would recommend you watch Spinal Tap with the commentary on.
I've never seen Spinal.
You should watch Spinal Tap 3 times. Once with the commentary on, once normal, once with the commentary on, and you should also watch the behind the scenes footage, which is like a whole other movie.
Okay.
Oh, I've never watched that.
It's so fucking good.
Okay, so to wrap up,
Final thoughts.
final thoughts.
It's a great premise, terribly executed. That's what I would say.
I actually feel like the premise wasn't that great. I feel like they had so many wonderful opportunities to steal a really cool sci-fi movie and put this character in it, and instead they put this character in,
Yeah, but where in the ranking?
We only have 3, so I think we can still list all 3.
I think
Yes.
it's probably pretty easy to rank it. Seems fairly obvious to me that it's not better than 2 Days in the Valley, but it is definitely better than Children of the Corn 3.
I agree. So it is my number
It's
2 right now.
Right in the middle,
Yeah.
Guys, it's currently my number 1. This
Yay!
is our first divergence.
Woo!
So I'm gonna go 1, Aeon Flux, 2, 2 Days in the Valley, 3, Children of the Corn, 3, Urban Harvest. I don't know why you don't say the full title every time you have that
I'm
opportunity.
sorry, we are being so disrespectful to Children of the Corn 3 Urban
Urban
Harvest.
Harvest.
Someone came up with that name.
And I will say it forever until I die. This edges out 2 Days in the Valley for me because I don't have to watch Charlize die a gruesome death.
Oh, it's
She's
our first
in-
one that we've watched where she didn't die.
Yay!
Though she does technically die, but she just is brought back to life
We do
again
see her as a
400
corpse.
years later.
You're right.
Well, the only one that we see, if we're assuming
Yes.
the clone is
The character she plays doesn't die.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, this movie has more Charlize for your money, so
Yeah.
it's gonna get a higher rating than 2 Days in the Valley for me. Also, less racism?
Well, there's some Orientalism in here. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's the future and everyone carries a paper parasol, but no one is Asian. There was like one of the extra assassins was Asian. But none of the characters were actively racist.
Yeah. No racial slurs were used in the
Correct.
making of this film that we know of. That's the first time we've diverged, guys. It's going to be an interesting road from here on
Yeah.
out.
We have to make a note now.
Oh, I've got a whole spreadsheet, by the way.
Come on.
great.
Yeah.
All right.
We're organized. Don't even
Okay.
worry about it.
All right, cool. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Theronathon. Our theme tune is by Alex Reed. And thank you, Charlize!
And now you've heard the Theronathon. Every word of the Theronathon. It just occurred, the Theronathon. I hope your heart was stirred by the Theronathon. And that your kitties purred at the Theronathon. Your curiosity spurred by the Theronathon. You're turning into a nerd for the Theronathon. And if you're flipping the bird at the Theronathon, we are undeterred at the Theronathon.
Then he would have played Batman instead of Christian Bale.
That's not a Matrix-like role.
No, but Christian Bale got the role of Batman because of the work he did in Equilibrium.
I wouldn't mind watching Keanu Reeves play Batman.
I would definitely watch Keanu
That
Reeves
would-
play
yeah.
Batman.
I mean, this whole feature posits that we would like to see Keanu Reeves in everything.
Yeah, also,
This is
what would
true.
his Batman voice sound like?
Whoa.
Whoa!